Good afternoon and welcome to this week's episode of Crafting Christians. I usually do this in the morning and it's Tuesday afternoon today because I was a little negligent in getting something together and prepared. So today's might be a little bit different. One of the things that I've tried to do a lot of as part of my living history and reenacting love of history experience is to learn the process of how they made the things that they did. And so in the picture, you'll see where I've explored leather working, pouch and bag making for my hunting pouches, my muzzle loaders, and supplies, and etc. Made some sheaths for knives out of rawhide, out of leather, explored using different materials in different ways. And I really enjoy doing that. So today's Crafting Christians is based on that because of blacksmithing, because this was the first patch knife that I made myself and put a twist in it. It's made out of a railroad spike. It's not refined, it's not finished, it's not hardened because I never got to that part of it, never got back to it. This was done about 10 years ago, I think. But I like it and it's worked for me. So who are some tools that God has used? As you look through the Bible, as you think about people in the Bible, people of biblical times, there are many of them that God used to accomplish certain things, whether it was the prophets, whether it was Moses and Aaron, whether it was Gideon, the judges, whether it was Joshua, whether it was the disciples, the man Paul who became Saul, who became Paul. God has used each one of us. So what do they have in common? They made themselves available to God. They answered the call of God and were willing to serve God, to be a tool used by God. In the blacksmith shop, there are a variety of tools, hammers for every method, every item, every design, pliers to hold different types of material for different reasons, to do different things with. You have the anvil and so on, various tools for various jobs. There are tools in the junk pile that are outdated, broken, dull, rusty. I've collected a few of those in the hopes of restoring them. It never happened. They sit around on the ground in the workshop, out of the way, thankfully, never to be used. There are tools on the anvil, such as the Hardy tool that's pictured in mine. There are tools, hammers around the anvil at times, ready to be used. There are tools of usefulness that are sharpened, primed, clean, ready, usable, functional, ready to be used. They lie around the toolbox, tool chest. They're available within reach, within grasp. I know where they are because I put them back. We're a lot like these tools. We can be useless, we can be ready to be used, and we can be used by God. Sometimes we're broken and wasting away. We feel that way anyway. We separate ourselves from God even further. Sometimes we lie around waiting, even hoping and longing to be used by God. Maybe we fail to see God's call in our lives to use us in some way for some project, for some activity. It can be one-time use or it can be multi-uses. But are we available to God? Other times, we sit around with our hearts open, seeking God, seeking to see what God wants us to do. Hopefully our talents aren't being wasted. We know what gifts we have and how to use them for God. These are things we always should seek to do. So we have to have a clear head looking for God at work. We have to have a clear heart, open to God. We have to be willing to go when God sends us, to do what God gives us to do, to speak up when God tells us to share something. I had a story from early in my ministry where I was being sent to the hospital room throughout the course of a day with a message to share with a person that was at the hospital. And it was a message that I didn't want to share, but God kept urging me, nudging me, and encouraging me to do so. And the message, when I finally went, the message was received with love and grace, and I'm thankful for that. Um, so we have to be willing and open to do those things. So we have to be in tune with God, well tuned, not compromising. We don't have to be perfect and we have to be polished. God used all kinds of people throughout the scriptures. None of them were perfect. But God equips us to do what God wants us to do if we don't already have the gifts. And God truly wants us to do something, God will give us the gifts. So be a tool in God's workshop, which is the world around you. Be a tool that is usable with your heart and your eyes open to God, and a willingness and a desire to serve God.